welcome to the Gap Tooth Diva Show. Okay, I'm just excited that you are tuning in. Please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to watch the Gap Tooth Diva Show.
Hi, my name is Aisha Horns, but you might know me as Aisha Gap Tooth Diva, online media personality, lifestyle blogger, author, plus-size model, thrift and vintage boutique owner and style expert, wife, mother, and residential best friend. Now, before I became the positive, bubbly personality that you know now, I used to be a young woman dealing with a lot of issues. I grew up in an environment where I dealt with sexual abuse, physical abuse, and I had extremely low self-esteem. I used to harm myself. I used to be bulimic, and I used to cut myself. And throughout my juvenile delinquency of being a bad girl, life just didn't seem worth living. I attempted suicide 6 times. Through all this unhappiness, I found faith, I found love, and I found purpose, which led me into the lifestyle that I live now, which is positive and Flawesome. Flawesome is my new book, Flawesome Because God Don't Make No Junk. A book about how I turn all those negatives and all those flaws into a positive movement that helps me every day, help me survive. And I want to share my story with you. Being Flawesome isn't about being better than anyone else. Being Flawesome is about being better than who you were yesterday. It's about taking whatever your situation is and turning it all around. And I want you to come with me on this journey of being flawed and awesome towards a phenomenal life. Let's go.
I wrote Flawesome because God don't make no junk, even though I know it's grammatically incorrect. But I wanted to show young women that they are flawsome. You are flawed. Everyone is flawed. Everyone has some type of flaw, whether it's internal or external. But we're all capable of being so incredibly awesome. It's unbelievable. And the reason why I put because God don't make no junk is just like it says, God doesn't make any junk. I'm proof that no matter how much you hate yourself or how bad things are for yourself, you can do some phenomenal things with whatever you have in your possession. There's even women that are older than me who have self-esteem issues and they don't love themselves. And I wanted to show everyone that, you know, you're here for a reason. And whatever flaw that you have, whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're going through, it's all meant to teach you a lesson. And it's meant to push you to a direction that maybe you can't even imagine. And God doesn't make mistakes. Everything that we have, everything that we possess is for something that's bigger than what we can imagine. And He doesn't make any junk. So when I was born and I had the overweight issue and I had the gap and the self-esteem issues, was all meant to take me to a place that I've never imagined I would be here in this situation. So when I wrote this book, I wanted a young girl to look and see, oh my God, she did this and she went through that and she struggled with these issues. I haven't done half of those things, so I know that I'm capable of doing great things. And that's exactly what I wanted to show, is that God don't make no junk. We are all flawed and awesome in our own way, and that's incredible.
Problem with self-esteem? Are you having low confidence? Well, maybe you need to try Gap Tooth Diva Smack Ride, the newest product on the market that's making you believe in yourself.
My name is Myrtle and I have really low self-esteem. Do you think that Gap Tooth Diva Smack Ride will work on me?
Damn right, Myrtle. Gap Tooth Diva Smack Ride is formulated to make you feel awesome by smacking some sense into you.
But I have a gap too, and I don't really like to smile. Do you think Smack Ride can help with that?
Open up the can and let's see. Pow! Now you have confidence.
Thanks, Got2 Diva. Now I can smile with confidence.
But wait, there's more. Got2 Diva Smack Right gives you more confidence. Therefore, more people are attracted to you.
Really? Because I really want to start dating again.
Damn right, Myrtle. Now open up the can again and let's see. Pow! Now don't you feel sexy? Pow! Smack Right success! That's right, Got2 Diva Smack Right, free $99 on Got2Diva.com for a limited time only. Got2 Diva Smack Right, believe in yourself.
Self-esteem is an issue that I struggle with, I think, since conception. I was born into a family where I was the darkest out of 3 girls. I was also the heaviest. So being overweight and being dark was something that I thought was an issue. I knew it was a flaw because I was told, you know, you're ugly, you're fat, you have these issues that you need to get fixed, especially before you get older. And then on top of that, as I developed, I had a gap. So having a gap, being overweight, being dark in my family was a big no-no. And I was always told that my sisters were more attractive than me and that I need to get my teeth fixed, I need to lose some weight. So I automatically knew that I was in a losing battle with my weight and how I looked. I used to look at myself a lot of times and wish that I was another woman. You know, sometimes I used to wish that I wasn't even black. I used to look in the mirror and just think that, you know, I was awful. And there was some serious issues going on with me, to the point that I started to get into relationships, friendships, and even the people that I dealt with as a means to validate my self-worth and my self-esteem. So a lot of times when I was, dating a guy or I had some friends, I wanted them to tell me that I was worth looking at or I was attractive. I wanted them to tell me that, I was special in some type of way, but I never really felt that way for myself. And every time I came home, when your parents don't tell you that you're attractive or that you look good or that you have something to be proud about, it takes a toll on your heart. It takes a toll on, what you believe that you're capable of. And I never felt empowered or beautiful in any kind of way. So when you have self-esteem issues, you make a lot of decisions that are probably self-destructive, and you don't pick the right friends. So in the book, I talk about a lot of things that I felt about myself looking in the mirror, how I hated myself, how I hated my weight, that I would throw up my food. And it even got serious enough to the point I was cutting myself because I felt like I needed to be punished. And in my mind, it was no better person to punish myself than myself because I knew just how bad it was. My self-esteem was a really big problem for me. And how I carried myself and the things that I allowed to happen to me and the things that I did to other people. I mean, I was a bully because of the fact that I was bullied at home. So being told that I was ugly or unattractive or told that I could fix myself at home, I go to school and I take some of that frustration out on somebody who didn't deserve it because I had issues. I think that a lot of girls who bully and pick on other girls is because they're dealing with some insecurities. But I would rather be honest about the fact that those exactly were my issues, was my insecurities with myself and how I didn't love myself. And that's why I go into detail about some of the mistakes I made, because self-esteem was a big factor in some of the decisions I made, from drinking, doing drugs, hanging out in the street, to being in some relationships that were unhealthy. It was all surrounded by the fact that I had very low self-esteem. The book Flawesome, because God don't make no junk. I talk about my experience dealing with sexual abuse first. That's probably one of the first chapters in the book where I discuss since the age of 2, I've always known myself as being molested by a family member. And up until recently, I thought it was completely normal for little girls to be molested. That's how often it happened to me in my family. From the time we put the book out till now, I've come across so many people who came to me and said that they're happy that I've opened up a dialogue about sexual molestation, especially with older women who had to deal with that when they were children. But a lot of people have also told me that they had experiences themselves and they thought that it was completely normal. Games like hide and go get it and all that are like a commonplace, especially within the African American community. And when it comes to people who were born before the 80s, they used to play those type of games. And it just threw me off because, you know, it didn't seem fun at the time it was happening to me. And it doesn't seem fun having a conversation nowadays. But to realize that so many people have been molested or sexually abused at one point in their lives and they haven't discussed it with anybody made me feel like not only was this a conversation that needed to be had, but how lonely I felt growing up. Because I couldn't have this conversation in school. I couldn't, you know, go to my friends and say, hey girl, you know, what did y'all do this weekend? Well, this weekend I got molested by 4 of my cousins and one of my uncles. That's not something that you just bring to the forefront and you admit to it. And I think because I decided not to keep it to myself is on one hand good, because I want young ladies to feel like they're not alone. You know, if you've dealt with this is something that you need to speak on immediately, and don't wait until you're older to say something. Speak on it now, especially if it's affecting you, because in the long run it affected me. But I also feel like, you know, you're opening up doors that people will prefer to keep closed. When we have these conversations about abuse and sexual molestation, the people who did it to you are the ones who probably want to forget that they played a part in that. And some of us who've experienced it want to forget the past. But it's the past that really resulted in me doing a lot of things that I did. When it came to me hurting myself, when it came to the relationships I had with other people or how I carried myself, it was because I was taught that although I'm ugly, although I'm gap-toothed and I'm fat and I'm black and blah, 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 I'm still worth something as long as I'm on my back. And that's the mentality that I had for so many years, is that if, you know, I may be ugly, but you know, somebody still wants to touch on me and feel on me and do sexual things to me. And you wouldn't believe how many young women walk around still feeling like that. Like, you know, they may have flaws and they may have inadequacies or self-esteem issues, but as long as we're sexualized or over-sexualized in some way, then we'll still be appreciated by some demographic of people. There's going to be someone out there who's going to want me. And that's the experience I had. It used to haunt me. I mean, even until now, as an adult, I have issues with my, with being comfortable around men alone. Or just being comfortable with knowing that there's a man who doesn't want, like, I don't think that there's a man who doesn't want anything from me in a sexual way because of what I experienced growing up. And it takes a lot to get from, meeting someone to trusting them, considering what I had to deal with and the things that transpired when I was younger. And no one should feel like that. If you've ever been molested or you've ever been touched or sexually abused by any man, I don't care if it's your father, your brother, your cousin, or anybody, I think you should tell someone that you can trust. And the mistake that I made, and you will read this in the book, is that I trusted in a family member and told her what was going on, and nothing happened, nothing changed, which made me not trust women also. Because when you come to someone and you divulge that kind of information and you let those kind of secrets out about you being sexually abused, no one should make you feel like it's your fault or that you did something wrong or that you played a role in that. And that was some of the issues that I faced when I was dealing with it, was that I felt like I did something wrong for even being present in the situation. My mom used to tell me all the time, stay out of people's face. Don't be smiling in people's face.
and it messes you up on a social level, because you never know if you're being too social or being too sweet, if someone's going to take advantage of you sexually. So as an adult, I didn't know how to deal with that, the sexual abuse, or just being taken advantage of. On top of being sexually abused, I was also physically abused, and we would fight, and he would beat me, and it was a lot. So on top of not feeling good about myself, I just really had a lot going on, where it was pushing me even deeper into a dark place of not loving myself, because it just never really seemed like between being sexually abused and physically abused and having these self-esteem issues that I was ever going to come out of that. And I definitely suffered for a long time after that. When I was younger, when I describe being self-destructive in the Flawesome book, I'm talking about everything from trying every drug that was passed to me, to running out in the street just doing crazy stuff. I dated a couple of people that was like in very shady businesses. Before I got with my husband, I was dating older men before I was even a teenager. We used to rob people, shoot at people, just do crazy, reckless things, drive drunk. I woke up drunk in a ditch one time. When your parents say that you shouldn't do stuff like that because you'll end up in a ditch, they're not lying. Like, you could very well end up in a ditch. I was reckless. I was off the chain, promiscuous. I just didn't care for life. I didn't value life. So to me, the idea of dying was almost exciting and intriguing, because I really woke up every day in a home where I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel appreciated. I went to school and I felt like everybody wanted something from me, whether it was sex, money, drugs, something. Everybody needed something from me. So I didn't feel like anybody was around me for the right reasons. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I hated what I saw. So at the end of the day, I think I was trying to commit suicide before actually trying to commit suicide. I would just do some of the most dangerous things that you can imagine in hopes that something bad happened to me. And I really did. I wanted something to happen where I didn't have to go home anymore, where I didn't have to feel the way that I felt about myself. And it got so serious to the point that I eventually did take it upon myself to attempt suicide several times. I would pop pills, I would drink alcohol, I would cut myself, cut my wrist, and I've been in and out of hospitals because of my behavior. And it was all because I didn't value myself. And it's all because I kept putting myself in that place where I was remembering all the things that happened to me sexually, the comments and insults that I received, and the damaging experiences that I had from losing myself. I eventually just wanted to die. And that's how I became self-destructive. So eventually, and this is why I know that God don't make no junk, because all the things that I was struggling with and I was going through, eventually it started to make sense, because God puts people in your life for a reason. And when my husband came into my life, I was 13 years old and we became friends. But he was one of those friends that, you really, in my life, I rarely had anyone who would try to steer me into the right direction, because everybody was just so into fun Aisha, who was reckless and crazy and destructive. But he was like, don't dress like that, don't talk like that, you're so much better than this, you should carry yourself at a higher standard. He even taught me what it meant to be virtuous and started showing me how to read the Bible. And this was somebody that I felt safe around. And even though everything he was doing was like quote unquote weird, he still was a positive light in my life when I needed it the most. And he was always there. And when I talk about finding God, I think God used this man to bring me to him, because otherwise I would have known nothing about religion. I didn't really care for praying and all the stuff that I enjoy now, and it's all because of my husband. When I found God, when I found the
strength to pray, it transformed me into this new person, because I started to see that I deserve much more in my life, and that, you know, it doesn't have to be so negative and so complicated and so painful. And the idea of having faith, although remarkable at the time, was something that I could have never fathomed. Having faith wasn't a big thing for me. But then I started to see my life change, and things started to get better when I started to have standards. And when I started to say, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to hang out with the wrong people. And I'm going to start getting more into church and starting getting more into the word and hanging out with positive people and feeling more uplifted. And I realized that I had a lot of qualities that I never imagined I had. I was genuinely creative, and I had, you know, some talent behind all that pain and all that hurt that I could utilize instead of doing destructive things that I was doing. So I'm not going to sit here and try to push any religious agenda on anybody, because you really got to find your own faith. But I do definitely feel like faith, it changed my life. It made me a better person. Because where I came from, we just didn't do that kind of stuff. And, you know, even now, as much as I love my family, they turn up. Like, it's not even a game. But at the end of the day, we look back, and I don't remember ever going to church as much as I do now, or praying as much as I do now. And my life has improved since then. And when you find God, it's something about that situation, because you realize that nobody will love you as much as God loves you. And that's how I feel. It's like, I didn't need those people to love me or to validate me or tell me I was beautiful when I had God there the entire time. And I feel like all those challenges and obstacles that I went through, that was meant to make me the person that I am today. Some of us have to struggle. Some of us have to go through some things in order to show to other people, you're not alone, you're not by yourself. So all the things that I endured with the suicide, the abuse, the self-destructiveness, the, you know, sexual abuse, and the neglect that I felt from both of my parents, it made me stronger. It made me hard, to the point that I could look at anybody's situation and say, that's nothing. You could get through it, and you can endure, because I did. I survived it. And if you try to kill yourself 6 times and survive, you got to see that there's some purpose to be said about your life. And that's exactly how I felt. When I found God, I found my purpose. I found what I'm supposed to do and who I'm supposed to be. And now every day I wake up and love that person, and I see her, and I'm like, I want to do greater than I did yesterday. And I want to impact someone. Because I remember being 16 and looking for a role model, looking for someone to push me in that direction, and feeling like there was nothing. There was no one. There was nobody I could relate to. And now that I've been through it, I've lived in the hood, I've had money, and I had no money. I've struggled, and I've had wealth. I've been on both sides of it. I can't explain to you just how great you can be regardless of your current situation. And that's exactly what I was looking for when I was younger. When I was doing all that crazy stuff, it's because I was searching for a sister, a friend, a mother figure to sit there and say, Aisha, you don't have to struggle this bad. You are Flawesome, because God don't make no junk. That's what I wanted someone to tell me. So I feel almost a responsibility. Like, the time that I have on this earth is borrowed time, because I should have been dead a long time ago. So now I want to use that time to tell somebody else that you can get through it. If I could survive, you could survive. There's nothing that's too big for you. And if you can get through the other side and look back, you'll be a better person from enduring it. And I don't know, finding God it really made me see that life is worth living, and I just want to live it until the wheels fall off. I mean, how could you not love this? No, I'm just No, I really do. I really genuinely love myself. And you know what? I'm going to have to be completely honest, because a lot of people, they concern themselves with things like arrogance and being pompous and all that. And be honest with you, sometimes I do too. Like, I really worry about being arrogant. But if you've been through some of the things that I've been through, look, you gotta have a little arrogance. You gotta have that attitude. Like, you love yours. I do. I really do. I came from not loving myself, from hurting myself, to want to see myself die, trying to kill myself, and hurting the people around me. Now, you can't tell me nothing. I truly love what God created this woman to be. this flesh and bone, everything that I put out there is a reflection of how awesome my God is, because he saved my life. So yes, I want everybody to love themselves, and that's what the book is. You're flawesome, you're flawed, you're awesome. God don't make mistakes, and if you look at yourself as being anything other than incredible and phenomenal, you've already made a mistake. And you have to love yourself, and you have to love what you're capable of doing. Push yourself to the limits. I think the worst people in the world are the ones who concern themselves with what everybody else thinks instead of trying to impress their creator. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with this movement, is trying to impress our creator, because I mean, we're blessed, we just don't see it yet. You know, a lot of you don't see it yet, and I've been there. But when you look back, you're gonna be like, wow, you know, it's flawesome, it's amazing. And that's about loving yourself. Okay, so by now you have felt the emotion from Flawesome, because God don't make no junk. You have fell in love with me, Aisha Gaptu Diva, and by now at this point you should have your copy of Flawesome, because God don't make no junk. I feel like this is like the Flawesome girl's guide to just being flawed and awesome. That's why I wrote it. So I want you to understand that you do not have to struggle with feelings of inadequacy or self-esteem, because you're incredible. I don't care if you're broke, if you have one leg, if you have a chipped tooth, or maybe one of your eyes is slightly cocked to the side. You are still beautiful, amazing, and phenomenal in your own way. And that's what Flawesome is about. So make sure that you enjoy the book, and make sure that you Instagram yourself reading the book. #Flawesome. That's FLAWESOME. Flawesome. That's flawed and awesome. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google Plus. Just Google Gaptu Diva, GAPTOOTHDIVA. And also check out my website, gaptudiva.com, where I write about everything dealing with fashion, music, culture, and lifestyle. And hopefully in the future we could see you at one of our Flawesome Academy workshops, or we could feature you on the website as being one of the wonderful people who read the book and supported the movement. This is about positivity. It's about loving yourself and being phenomenal where you are. So I don't care who you are right now. You're flawesome, because God don't make no junk. Thank you so much for supporting me. See you soon.
I'ma stop the track. It's the diva with